Greetings and Merry Christmas. You're listening to Pastor Forrest, your youth and outreach pastor here at High Point Church, and I am so excited to dig in to this 25 Days of Christmas devotional with you today. We are on December the 3rd, and our passage for today is in the book of Isaiah in chapter 9, verse 6 through 7. Let's read together. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish all of this. Wow, I love this passage, and the title of our devotional today is Joseph Hoping for a Change. Let's hop into the story. When would this end? Again, his carpentry shop was defiled by those rude Roman soldiers. It wasn't the taxes they took or their smug demeanor as they came in and demanded to collect their extremely inflated taxes. It was really no wonder the Jews lived the way they did, a far cry from the days of King David. But what bothered Joseph the most was their insults. Every time they came into the shop, they insulted him and any other Jew within earshot. Who were they to look down on him? Joseph worked hard as a carpenter. He made an honest wage. He honored Yahweh and followed the law. But it didn't matter. Since he was a Jew, they mocked him, scoffed at him, and hurled insults in his direction. They couldn't just come in and collect their taxes and be on their way. No, they had to make sure that he knew they were better than him, that they were in charge. They had the support of the government behind them. They made sure he knew he was a lowly Jew who owed his very existence to their generosity that allowed him to live in the city, have his carpenter shop, conduct his business, and just simply keep a roof over his head. And Joseph often thought of the words of Isaiah in times like these. A son from the line of David would be born, and the government would be on his shoulders. Under the rule and reign of this king, there would be justice and righteousness. This king would bring peace, hope, and comfort. But Joseph, he would just settle for being left alone. You know, he didn't choose to be born a Jew, and he wasn't ashamed of his birthright. He may be a lowly carpenter, but he was proud to be part of the Israelite nation. In fact, despite being under Roman rule, Israel had a proud history of watching God move on their behalf. Even though there were dark days in the story, Joseph was still honored to be a Jew. In fact, Joseph even had the added privilege of being in the bloodline of King David. But as he thought about his encounter with the Roman soldiers earlier in the carpenter shop, Joseph knew the days Isaiah talked about were still far off. Even if a son would be born today, he would have to grow up and somehow rise to the throne. But what throne would that even be? The Romans would never allow the Jews to have a king. The closest thing they had was King Herod, but he was not a king, at least not one worthy of the likes of David. Herod was just a puppet for the Romans. He was cruel and curried favor with the Jewish people by cutting taxes and renovating the temple. And all the while, he was bringing the Jews under heavier Roman rule. No, the days of this king that Isaiah described as a wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace were not going to happen in his lifetime. Joseph knew he would live his life under Roman rule and not see a true king rise to lead the nation of Israel. He had to come to grips with that. But on the other hand, he was considering asking a young lady, Mary, to be his wife. One day they would have children, and he would like to see a better world for them. Maybe someday he would have a son who would see a great Jewish king ascend to the throne. Maybe. God has done stranger things. You know, I love this story because for us, Christmas, it seems to always fall in the wake of an election season. And in the years where there is a presidential election, it feels like some are licking the wounds from a brutal round of ads and debates, maybe arguments, and others are gloating over the victory of their candidate. Either way, there's no doubt our government here in America does more to divide our country than bring us together. Even still, some would argue democracy is the best government system we have in the world. The reality is that no government is going to be perfect. Whether it is a dictatorship or a democracy, all we have are governments that are built by people, and people are flawed. And even the best of us cannot create a perfect government system that works completely for all people. That is, if you are focused on your American citizenship. If you focus on your heavenly citizenship, you will find a place where justice and righteousness reign, a place where all people are created equal despite the color of their skin, the size of their bank account, or even the language they speak. And in the kingdom of heaven, everyone is a child of God who was redeemed to their Creator through the sacrifice of a gentle baby who innocently peered out from the manger. Today, I want to encourage you to take time to do two things. First, I want you to pray for our country and our government leaders at all levels, whether you voted for them or not, whether you agree with their policies or not, whether you like them or not even. Pray for them because they are children of God who need His guidance just like you and I do. Second, please consider how you will go through today differently, keeping in mind you are first a citizen of the kingdom of God, the kingdom where peace abounds and righteousness is the foundation of its existence. Will you extend peace more freely? Will you make different choices today? Will you be more generous, patient, and forgiving this Christmas season? How will you live differently today since you are a citizen of God's kingdom?